Hello, everybody. My name is Chris, and I'm going to take you through what's been happening in the Nintex workflow world over the last 6 months or thereabouts. The first thing I guess that we have to talk about is that last year Nintex Automation Cloud was called Nintex Automation Cloud. We have since renamed the product to Nintex Workflow today, hence the funny title slide. Right, let's get on with the show. The first thing that I'd like to take you through is application lifecycle management. And the point of this is that as our customers' solutions start to mature, they're starting to use Nintex more for business critical applications, so do the deployment methods. So we are working very hard on ALM or application lifecycle management and adding more and more features along that. Two that I can show you today. One of them gives you the full control of your environment variables. So when you're moving from dev, test, prod to each other, you've got the ability to easily switch them out. And then the second thing is that when you want to take backups of your workflows or store your code, previously we generate a unique key and you can import them and export them between your different tenants. Now we also allow you to export those workflows as files, and so you can put that into your source code repository. But let me show you a little bit about the full control of the environment variables. If I go into my tenant itself, and let's have a look at this one here, customized HR onboarding. Let's just go and have a look at some of the items that we get to change. So I'll go here to configure workflow. And what this is doing is effectively, as I said, it's environment variables. So anything that I mark as configurable as start event option, or even in the variables themselves, now I don't have any in this particular case, I get to modify those. This one here uses connections to different systems. So you can see here I'm connected to specific ones for this particular tenant. Imagine if I migrated then to a production version, I can import this workflow into that tenant and then start to change them all here from this configuration pane. Absolutely the same thing happens when you're looking up data from other places, where you're calling other workflows, and where you are looking up Nintex tables themselves. In the future, I'll be able to show you what we call containers, where we get to package all these components together and deploy them as one piece, but that's coming probably for the next update. Right, let's get back to the next one. Artificial intelligence, that's a big buzzword of this year and last year. And Nintex has been working hard with AI. We've got that scattered throughout many of our products. I'm going to show you 3 things that were released in the last 6 months. The first one is the workflow generator. So let's go back to my tenant. We'll go and create a workflow. And you see here we've got a new option, start with AI, where you get to prompt the AI, I guess the AI brain powering this, and say what you'd like to do. So we can describe our workflow, or we can actually just go and upload a document. So let's go and describe this workflow. Look how fast I can type here. So this one here is going to be creating an employee onboarding workflow. What I had asked it to do was that it needs to be reviewed by HR, it needs to be reviewed by finance. If they approve, then we should create an employment contract and send that off for electronic signature. So whatever your requirements might be, it is taking that, it's analyzing it, it is looking through all the different types of actions that we've got available for us and coming up with a suggested type of workflow. So we will twiddle our thumbs for a few seconds while this is generating. I don't want to pause the recording because I do want to show you this building out. You can see here, look, it's figured out, yes, we do need to go and send that to HR first. And then once we've figured out if they've approved it, it will then go off to finance. If it doesn't get approved, then we're going to go and send kind of a Dear John letter saying, sorry, we're not going to hire you. Now, if finance go and approve it, we're going to generate the employment contract. We'll send that off for signature. And of course, if finance don't, then it's the same kind of Dear John letter. Once you've said, yep, that looks good enough for me, you can then hit the use this workflow button and it'll create it using our traditional drag and drop interface where you can start to modify things. Maybe I need to go and send a few more emails here in this case here, right? So that is one way of generating workflows using artificial intelligence. Let's hop back to the PowerPoint. So the next item that we have is the extensions generator. Now, if you're not familiar with Nintex extensions, what we supply is a whole bunch of connections out of the box, for example, to SharePoint, to Salesforce, etc. But we can't create a connection for absolutely every system out there, so we give you the ability to create your own. That's what a Nintex extension is. To create that, you look at the API of the system that you want to connect to, and you effectively write that API definition in a specific format, upload it to a system, and then that becomes available for any workflow user to create. Writing that takes a bit of time. So we said, hey, why don't we use AI to help us out? So let's go and have a look here. Sorry, I'm going to go over to this page. Let's go over here to NASA. They've got some APIs available. And so, hey, and these ones are free, so this is why I can use it as a demo. So we'll go and try and connect up to NASA, shall we? Let's do that. I'll just copy and paste the URL there. Go back to extensions, click on the create button. Now I could do it the traditional way, but I'm going to use AI to help us out. What can you do with api.nasa.gov? Hit the generate button. It goes through and trawls through that particular website and finds out what it can do. You could be really specific. You could say, I want you to do particular method, or you could be really, really generic. It's like, what could you do about image manipulation or something like that, right? So it's going to have a think. Now it's come through with 3 different things that it thinks it can do. Let's just tick all of them. Why not? You can see here's a path to those. This is the code that it's written for us. I've got the ability to edit this code. This is the code that I would have had to write myself if I wasn't using AI. And then it's talking about security. It's understood. It's gone through here and it said, hey, I've gone and read the authentication. It's like, oh, yep, there we go. And it also says, oh, yeah, we can use a demo key. I'm just going to copy and paste that. So it's figured all that out for us automatically. Let's go next. Let's give it a logo. You can change the name and such things like that, and then publish that definition. All right, so this takes about 30 seconds to publish everything in the background, but it'll save me a whole bunch of time of writing the code to go and talk to a system that we don't traditionally talk to. After I've done that, this should be enough time. Let's find out in a sec. We say we've got to actually create, whatever the authentication was. So I'll call this one NASA and the API key. Let's just make sure that I've pasted that in properly. Yes, good. Hit the connect button. And these are the people who are allowed to use that connection. And then let's go and create a workflow. Let's do it the traditional way this time. Drag and drop. And we'll go and search for an action. And we've got all those different actions there for us. Let's go and find one. Pick the top one. Drag it into place. And then, hey, look at that. There are the traditional ways of prompting somebody how to use this. So it's using the one and only connection that we've made. Let's see, what does this do? It just gets the picture of the day and it needs it in this kind of format. Okay, 2025-08-01. And yeah, we might as well get a high definition version of it. And then we'll spit it out somewhere. We'll call it image details. Cool, I've created that object and then we'll just log just for the purposes of this demo. Log to instance and get the NASA API, image details. Cool, there's an explanation, we'll use that. Why don't we use the title? Oh, and the URL itself. Cool, that should do. And also let's just shortcut the start event, make that nice and fast, and save this. Save button. And let's test. Hit the workflow testing button. Nothing to submit in a form because I made it a component workflow. And we will see the testing status appear here in a few seconds. Here we go. So it's called that API and let's see what it's logged. Oh, here we go. Yep, nice description here. It's got some title and it's got the link to the picture. So that's an example of using the extensions generator or the AI functionality in the extensions generator to very quickly go and connect to a third-party system that you may never have connected to before in the past. Okay, let's go back to here, the last one, runtime actions. So these ones here are about helping you build a workflow and helping you connect to other systems. How about actually running the workflow itself? Now we've got a bunch of different runtime actions. Let's go into there and show you one. Click into the generator here, and you can see here we've got the AI actions. They are still in beta mode, but they're very, very close to being released to production. So we've got things like analyzing the sentiment of text. We've even got the ability to detect language and then translate it. So you don't have to do, hey, I know that they submitted this form in French, so therefore I'm going to go and translate it in French. Just tell the thing to detect that language itself and then automatically translate it. I have a separate video which I'll have a link to in the description of this if you want to see that in action. And then we've got what I call light IDP. So we're able to extract out information from documents and then work with them. So the example that I'll give you now is, let's say we want to do an ID check. So somebody's uploaded a driver's license or a passport or a birth certificate or something like that. It doesn't really matter what the ID document is. We're going to go and extract out some common text out of that. So let's go and do that. Extract information from here. Okay, so the first thing, they've uploaded the document, we've gone and retrieved it, and they have saved that as an item called ID document. So what I will do is I'll say extract information from that ID document, and then what do you want to extract? I've got a little bit of pre-prepared typing here, so I don't have to type a lot and bore you all. So I want to get the surname, the first name, date of birth. I want the surname converted to uppercase. I wanted the first names converted to proper case. I want this in day, month, year format as well, and then I'll spit that out. I'll just do it as JSON. That's fine. And then say ID details. Now with JSON, we've got actions inside Workflow to go and manipulate JSON and format it nicely, but for the purposes of today, that should be fine. ID details, and then we'll just go and log those ID details. There we go. And we'll save that workflow. Now in my computer somewhere, I've got all these different ID types of documents, right? So there's a birth certificate. This one here is an Australian or Queensland government driver's license, New Zealand birth certificate, New Zealand driver's license, right? So they're all in different formats, as you can see, like the first name for this one here is somewhere over here. It's a bit blurry, whereas the driver's license, the first name's down there after the surname. So you're not really specifying where. I'm just saying I want the first name or I want the surname. All right, let's go and test this. Go and select a file. Let's just pick that driver's license for fun. And just so that while it's processing in the background, let's move that over so you can see it. And extract that information from the document. So it's doing that our AI call to our AI service. And then what did it have in the log? Let's just bring that driver's license back. Okay, so it got John Jacob Dean. Yes, John Jacob Dean. It put it in proper case. Surname, all uppercase, Smith, and the date of birth, 5/11/1947. There you go. You've got all these extra AI actions that you can use in your workflows. And we'll continue to build on that service as well. All right, what do we have next? We've got assigner task updates. This is a very, very popular action inside the Nintex world. And so we've had a few requests from customers about email management. The first one is you can actually go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to assign a task to somebody, but I also want to CC or blind copy some people in there. So we've given you the ability to do that now. We've also given you the ability to actually completely disable email. If you were using other methods like Nintex Mobile or My Nintex or even Nintex apps to surface tasks, you might not want to spam people with email, so you can turn that off. And then another popular request that we got was viewing completed task forms. Now, when the form has been completed, the URL that you use to edit that form makes it a read-only version. So you can go ahead and have a look at it. Oh, yes, I did complete this task, and this is what I said. Very handy updates. They'll be used all the time. SharePoint on-prem. We've got some start events that are you can access from Nintex Automation Cloud. And some people might go, wait a second, how do you access on-prem from Nintex from a cloud-based or a SaaS service? Well, we use the Nintex gateway to be able to do that. And it does more than just talking to SharePoint on-prem, but that's a discussion for another day. But with that, we have got the ability to trigger workflows if there have been new list items, have been updated, or both. And just so that you're aware as well, because lots of people are talking about migrating off SharePoint on-prem due to Microsoft deprecating the workflow engines in both that and also Office 365, we've got migration tools to take you take your existing Nintex workflows to Nintex Workflow itself, the SaaS-based version. Or if you want to stay on-prem, we've also got an on-prem workflow engine as well that we can migrate you to. Very easy to be able to do that. And then we've got our friend repeating sections. For those of you who aren't familiar with repeating section, inside a form, you're able to repeat data over, for example, line items in an invoice. And we've given you a few extra features here. You are able to automatically populate those repeating sections inside things like your task forms, or even inside your start form. So you provided an input such as XML or text coming from a place like SharePoint, or maybe from a data, one of the Nintex data, or any other third-party system, and then you can populate those repeating section values as well. And then you take that another step further. If somebody had filled in a repeating section in the start form, but you wanted to show that repeating section in the task form, you've been able to do that for a while, but now we also enable you to edit that same data. So it's the old correcting somebody if they made a mistake or something like that. I've got a video for this, so I will play that for you. This takes about 4 minutes, and then we are done. Just so that you're aware, I am going to fast forward bits of this video which are more about the how-to. If you want to see the full video, then I'll also paste that in the description attached to this one.
In this video, we explore how to configure default values in repeating sections. Designers can choose between two default types, collection and text. Let's look at how repeating sections can be populated using a text-based collection. When submitting a form with a repeating section in Nintex for SharePoint Online, the repeating section is formatted using XML. To display this output in a Nintex Workflow form, the XML can be directly added as the default value for a repeating section or a reference used. Additionally, imagine you have a SharePoint Online list. One of its columns contains a collection of objects in JSON format. You want to use that data to populate a repeating section on your form. Or you might have an indexed table where a column stores collections of objects. In both cases, you can now use that data directly. To configure this, go to the repeating section in the Form Designer. Open the Insert Variable tab, click Variables, and navigate to the External Data section. Select the column that contains JSON. Insert it into the control, and you're done. The controls in your repeating section will map to the keys in each object. Next, let's look at how repeating sections can be populated from table data and external data sources using the collection option. For table data, you'll see a set of rows, each containing multiple values. Rather than inserting each collection individually, which would only return arrays of strings, you can insert the rows object. This provides a complete set of structured data for each row. The form controls will then map automatically to the corresponding object keys. The process is similar when working with external data. Instead of using rows, you'll insert the record field. This field provides structured data in the same way, allowing the repeating section to be populated correctly. In each example, let's now take a quick look at the final result in runtime. The form loads with 4 repeating sections. The first is populated using XML formatted text. The second uses data from a SharePoint column with a text-based JSON collection. The third pulls records from a table data variable. And the fourth is generated from an external data collection. All 4 sections are successfully populated. Repeating section data can be passed from form to form. In this example, the repeating section data from the start form is passed to a task form. The repeating section does not keep the control names given to it. This means that once the form is submitted, we can open the associated task form. Here, the repeating section is populated with data from the start form. Not only can we view this data, but we can also make changes like updating an employee's bonus. With these default value options, building smarter, more responsive forms in Nintex Workflow is faster and more flexible than ever.
Hopefully that was helpful. If you've got any more information, if you need any more information, there are links in the description to those various videos, but also I encourage you to check out the release notes, which has got all of the detail of the stuff that I've shown you, plus more. I've only shown you some highlights today of the things that I particularly found interesting. Have an awesome day.